Bonjour, bienvenue sur l'ASYS TV. Nous sommes ici en direct de la cité internationale de Rabat à l'occasion du 8e sommet des étudiants et de la jeunesse africaine. Donc ici avec moi, nous allons switcher en anglais car nous recevons des intervenants de toute l'Afrique, de tout le continent et notamment d'Afrique du Sud. Et j'ai le plaisir de recevoir, ladies and gentlemen, avec moi Mr. Dr. Kehdinga George Fomunyam, CEO of Zoe Educational Consultancy from South Africa. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So you were there for the first plenary session of this day, of Saturday. So you were talking about new culture of work for the future of work, soft versus hard skills. What are the contribution did you bring during this panel?
I think soft and hard skills for the future place of work, it's quite critical in this era in which we are in, especially because the fourth industrial revolution is bringing more and more changes to what happens in the place of work and the kind of jobs we would be facing or would be seeing ourselves engage in the coming future. So I think one of the things in which we were discussing within that panel would be how how the youths need to reorient themselves towards this change and the kind of skills that are vital to ensure that they actually remain employed. Projections show that several millions of jobs would be displaced, but almost a double of the displaced number of jobs would be created. So these people need to reorient themselves with both soft and hard skills to be able to find their place in this new environment. And we also spoke about a few other things, be it the readiness as well as several other employability skills and the role of the educational institution as a whole. And why not to add what the government can do to be able to ensure this change.
Dr. Kehdinga, can you tell us more about Zoe Educational Consultancy? What is your initiative?
Zoe Educational Consultancy focuses on a number of things, one of them being market research as well as training and research consultancy. One of the things in which I realized having did my PhD in education was the way in which education was being conducted across certain slopes in Africa. And so one of the things we do is help train people in different ways. Like one of the things I spoke about during the plenary session was learning how to learn. That's not something in which education nowadays focuses on. And training employees within certain companies on what vital skills, how to reorient themselves, how to make themselves inevitable for the company. I give you one example. In around 1967, when America was struggling to send people to the moon, that's around when mathematical calculations were done by human beings. But around that same time, also the computer came into play. And one of the leaders of a group of people, literally, she had to go and steal the manual for the computer to teach the people she was leading how to use this machine, just so this group of people don't lose their jobs with the coming of the machine. By the time the computer replaced who they were, they had already trained themselves on how to use it. This is more or less the ways in which the society is being shaped and the place of work. And this is why we are gradually stepping in and beginning to looking at the projections of what the future of work is going, where it's going, the kind of jobs that are emerging, the kind of skills that are needed, and beginning to train people and providing them with skills which would help them navigate this area. We also do a lot of research on our own, as well as the research done by others, as well as maybe market research for companies. What do you think may be the future of this company, for instance? Look, let's say the airline business, for instance. It's projected that within the next 5 years, more than 50% of planes would be automated. So pilots would no longer, about 50% of pilots would be out of jobs. So this, before now, has been a very lucrative field of employment, which they don't even take everybody, but within the next 5 years, they would gradually have been disappeared. How do these people with these skills, what do they do? How do they reorient themselves? How do these companies with this huge resources, they have invested huge number of people to train pilots, for instance. How do they recover such amount of, what do they do to be able to meet the future? So we conduct such kinds of research, among other things, so as to see futures for company. What can we do? What can they do? And how do they reorient the future? Make sure they don't disappear. Because many companies, that's what's happening. If you cannot catch up, you lose out. That's basically it.
Dr. Kehdinga, do you think that the government understands your approach about this new culture of work?
I think in most places, government is all about bureaucracy and diplomacy, which is why they are always responding so slow. No change, no drastic change in any nation has ever come from the government. It has always come from the people and the social stratosphere within these nations. The government is always rushing after these things to be able to work to adapt the changes. Let's say the digitalization of many things. Uber brought a lot of changes. Zuckerberg with Facebook, Airbnb. That's disrupted the hospitality industry. Uber disrupted the transport industry. These are not things which the government could anticipate. They were only running behind them to be able to enact laws that would be able to govern such things. Up to today, we still see them fighting with the likes of Zuckerberg about data privacy and the rest. So they would never understand, because most of them, unfortunately, the government in most parts of the world are old. If, let's say, America, for instance, we're talking about a president who is 70-something, who understands nothing about the digital age. You look at over 70% of the leaders in the world are above that age. So they have no idea, or really no critical understanding of what these disruptions can be like. You saw of recent, Finland emerged quite interesting with almost, for the first time, it's with a female government completely, with all of them being below 45. The Prime Minister being 34, the Prime Minister being 34, and 4 members of the government also being below 35. Only one of them, the other lady, I think she was around 40-something. These are the kind of people who can understand such changes because they have lived it, their experiences. So in as much as the government doesn't understand these things, we have to be able to show them the way, so that whatever they are doing, they can catch up with us in different ways, whatever way they can. But we can never wait on the government to produce the innovation. The government always follows as far as innovation is concerned. They never lead.
But the summit is the occasion to share with all the yesterday we see all the ministers of foreign affairs of many countries. There is a platform. These platforms help to create the dialogue between the politics and the youth.
That's true. I think yesterday also we were talking with one of the diplomats, and one of the things in which we were also discussing would be, how can we ensure that the resolutions which would come out from this summit, for instance, gets implementation across Africa? In as much as this year has been amazing, because we've never seen this kind of number of ministers of foreign affairs come to the summit before. So it has really been, I think yesterday at the opening ceremony, we had about 6 different foreign affairs ministers. So that's really amazing. So it means they are actually now taking more consideration of what we are doing and what we are saying and the contributions we have to. And so we actually hope that they would be able to provide us with the kind of support we need to be able to enact this kind of change, because we are the ones to do it. They only need to give us the support we need to be able to do what we want to do. And most of the time, especially, we have the AU as the partner. As partners, we have the Commonwealth, we have the United Nations, and many other organizations, which all of these resolutions would go to them. So the onus lies on them to be able to give us the kind of support we need to put this to practice.
Great. So thank you, Dr. Kehdinga George Fomunyam, CEO of Zoe Educational Consultancy from South Africa. It was a pleasure to receive you. Hope that you will enjoy Morocco for your first time.
Yes,
have a great time.
I look forward to it. I've quite enjoyed Rabat since I came. I didn't spend enough time in Casablanca. We just drove from the airport to here. So I think Rabat, it's a beautiful city, and I hope to enjoy it before leaving.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.